So we'll go ahead and get started. I know we got some other people that are still joining us, but again, welcome to the Office of Business Diversity and Compliance. My name is Taylor Tagg, Senior Business Services Coordinator with the office. And again, we're so glad to have you here on our continuing series, webinar series on how to improve your business as an entrepreneur and our entrepreneur webinar series. And I know for many of you, this season is tax time. It's prime time, tax time at the moment. So we've got Adrienne Foster from Foster Financial Management, and she's been with us several times over the last year and a half, talking about taxes and budgeting and all good things, bookkeeping and accounting. And she is a QuickBooks certified, and she's going to talk about how you can utilize QuickBooks in your business and also make it a lot easier to file your taxes using QuickBooks. And she's going to carry you through some scenarios and tips that you can work with, and hopefully a checklist that you can go down and kind of make sure you've got everything squared away for your taxes, because we know how important that is. So we will continue with Adrienne. And Adrienne, welcome to OBDC. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. And thank you, Taylor, for the opportunity. It's always great to be with you and to bring great information to our Memphians and our Memphis entrepreneurs. And now that we're in a virtual world, we can serve anyone. We're not even limited to the 901, which is fantastic. That's one of the good things that have come out of the pandemic.
Well, it's all yours. Let's take it away. Thanks for being here.
All right. Okay. Thank you again, Taylor. How's everyone this morning? Give me a wave. Okay. So down at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a PC, we're going to utilize reactions and we're going to utilize chat, because I know on this Monday morning, nobody wanted to wake up just to look at me all day. So I definitely want this to be an engaging. Thank you for those thumbs up. Thank you. I'm glad to see that everyone is doing great. Thank you for that hand raise. We're going to utilize that. I want to keep you guys engaged. We're going to walk through this together. I am also a fellow entrepreneur, just like yourself. If we think about why we went in business to do something that we love, something that we have a passion for, something that, just gets us fired up about waking up in the morning, providing a service or providing a product that betters our community, that betters people, that betters the citizenship. Whatever that service or product that we provide, we're passionate about it. But sometimes passion is not enough. That alone is not enough. All right. Thumbs up if you can agree with that. As a business owner, and we're going to do some check-ins in just a moment, but sometimes passion just isn't enough. We've seen, unfortunately, so many businesses go under because they had to realize that the passion was just not enough, because they had to understand the importance of proper record keeping. So that's what we are going to get in today. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, so we can get going on today's presentation. All right, I hope everyone can see my PowerPoint right here. Awesome. Yay, thank you so much for that thumbs up. Okay, you guys are moved to the side now, so I can't see your faces as much, but just keep engaging with me, because we're going to go back and forth. So again, the title of today's webinar is Understanding and Using QuickBooks for Easy Business Tax Filing. When we realize that passion is not enough and we have to get our records in order, this is one of the ways that we can definitely utilize a software program so that we can be in a better position as business owners. So what our goal is for today, after we do a quick check-in, we're going to discover together how QuickBooks can save us time throughout the year, not just at tax time, but how it's going to make us more efficient and more effective as business owners. We're going to talk about the importance of, by staying organized throughout the year, it's going to make taxes easier for us to calculate and turn into our tax professional. We're going to talk about the importance of getting a tax professional. We're going to go through a checklist that you'll need to keep on hand. All of these documents that we're going to go through, I'll be sending this as a PDF, this presentation as a PDF when we're done today. I'll send it to Taylor. I'm going to send a couple of things to Taylor, and I'm going to send all of this checklist as well so that you have it for your reference. And I'm also going to send a little goodie link as well. And then lastly, we're going to discuss a couple of considerations. We're going to do a little hands-on exercise together so that we can set ourselves up for success and growth. All right. So if you guys have strap your seatbelts on, because we got an hour and a half together, and we're going to have a good time on seeing how we can just go to the next level in 2022. All right, so I told you we're going to utilize the chat there. So right there in the chat, I want everyone to check in. What is your business industry, and how many years or how long have you been in business? So let's just take about 60 seconds. Everyone fire away down there in that chat. What business industry are you a part of? Are you in communications? Are you in transportation? Are you in crafts, food services? What do you do? What do you do? And how long have you been in your own business? And Armina, there will be a replay. I think that Taylor is recording this, so we should be good to go. He should be able to provide us a link. All right, Linda is in management consulting for less than 25 years. Awesome. All right, Edwina's Heartbeat CPR educational services. Wow, been busy since 1994. That's fantastic. GIP services, virtual CFO services. All right, Sonia. Okay, Chica's in IT, sales and accountant. Okay, 3 years, fantastic. Who else? Okay, alternative therapies, Arena, sound therapy, body breath works. Oh, that's great. I think during tax time, we all need that, right? We all need to learn how to have better breath control and manage our stress. And a music maker. Awesome. Warnett is in insurance, 3 years, and real estate for 6 years. Oh, wow, you've been busy. You've been busy, Warnett. This has been a real estate season, I tell you what. All right. Someone on the iPhone is in wholesale distribution, electrical and industrial supplies for 18 years. Wow. I tell you what, we see a consistency of some longevity. Hi, Dorothy. Thanks for being with us today. Good longevity. All right. 5 more seconds if we didn't get everyone. All right, another member of Heartbeat. Okay, great. Thank you, Camry. And then Sol Holland Jr., the owner of Sanitize for You commercial cleaning service for 7 years in the business. I tell you what, is it Sol or Saul? Saul? Okay, great. You've been busy during the pandemic. This is definitely, we're going to talk about the impact of the pandemic, and we definitely want to hear from you on how this has impacted your business, because I'm sure you've seen requests skyrocket with the need for sanitation all across. All right, well, thank you so much. I'm going to close that chat out for a second. Wanted us to do that quick check-in so that we can, number one, get to know each other. Taylor has brought us all together. We're from all different industries, as you can see, insurance and healthcare and services and consulting and financial. So we can see that all of us come together from different industries, but the one thing that remains consistent among us all is the importance for us to manage our business finances and keep things in order. So we're all in the right place today. All right. Now, we're going to jump right on in. The reason why it's important for us to be organized in our finances. And I just mentioned as we opened up, poor record keeping is the leading cause for business failure. The leading cause. And it goes back to what I was saying, and I can't say it enough, and you'll hear me say it over and over again. Passion for the things that we do is simply not enough. It's just simply not enough. Adequate record keeping is absolutely vital for us to keep our finances in order. So when we talk about ways to save money and save time during this tax season, the number one thing that we're going to focus on today is being organized and using technology to help us to get there. All right. We know that we are living in a technology age. Everything is digital. We live in a cloud environment. So we definitely have some tools at our fingertips. So at this point in our businesses and in our careers, we really don't have any excuses for us not to be organized. When we feel organized in our business finances, guess what? We see all kinds of benefits, but I've put 3 huge ones right here on the screen for us. Some of the things, number one, I just mentioned to Romina, her business helps us to reduce stress and learning how to breathe through our situations. But when we're organized, we're absolutely going to feel less stressed. We're going to have reduced stress when we don't have to feel the crunch and the gathering. You see this little image right there? There are 2 of them. One of them is how we feel when we're not organized. And number 2, that receipts box, that's the cause of that picture, number 1. And so you hear those horror stories of when small business owners go to the tax accountant and they take them literally a shoebox or a huge stack of receipts and say, here you go, prepare my taxes. So one of the things that you're going to get in that response is, okay, here's the paperwork to sign for your extension, because we can't do that. Because a lot of the times they're just turning that in on April 13th. So you can't turn that kind of disorganization around in two days. But also, it puts greater stress on your tax professional. They have to, set aside time to adequately go through and categorize and get those things organized before they can even start on tax preparation. So we definitely don't want to find ourselves in that situation. The second benefit, that's a huge one, is greater sense of control. This is the time of year where all accountants, our phones are ringing off the hook, because this is the time of year where people are giving the most attention to their businesses. And it's unfortunate because you're in business for how many months a year? 12, not just 1. So we don't want to cheat ourselves as entrepreneurs and not keep track and feel a sense of control all throughout the year. We need to know how important it is to track our business performance. How much money are we making? How high are our expenses? Are we needing to change suppliers or vendors? Those are the types of things that we need to have a sense of control over all throughout the year. And so when we're organized, we feel a greater sense of control in that area. And we run a more effective business overall. Okay, we run a more effective business when we are organized and use some sort of system to keep up with our record keeping. Okay, we're going back to the chat. Okay, everyone pull your chat up. I want you, we're all family here. So I now want everyone to answer. We're going to take 60 seconds. I want you to share currently what you are doing to manage your business finances. Are you keeping, everything on paper? Are you keeping everything like in a notebook? Are you keeping anything in a software program? Maybe it's a program other than QuickBooks. Are you keeping it in spreadsheets? Okay, Sonia's using QuickBooks. Awesome. All right. Yay, Linda's using QuickBooks. Okay, good. Okay, Zero, great. QuickBooks. Okay, awesome. So this is great. It looks like all of you are already using QuickBooks. So that's great. So perhaps you've been using it and maybe not gotten all of the functionality of it. Okay, so all great. You're using QuickBooks. That's great. That's great. So this is good news that I love to hear, because that means you already have, Dorothy's using QuickBooks. Awesome. That means you already have a system in place. So you've taken the first step in recognizing the importance of it, making a change for independence and want to learn QuickBooks and be able to do it and be aware. Awesome. You're in the right place. We're going to take care of you. Okay, great. So that's awesome. I'm going to close the chat here. I don't have a system. Okay, great. You're in the right place. Thank you for that transparency, because that's what we want. Everyone to just share. We're all family here. There's no judgment. We all want to leave here today as better entrepreneurs. We want to leave here feeling that we're more equipped and that we are ready to set new goals and activate on those. So thank you so much. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close that chat, but keep them going if you have more to say. All right. The reason why we should utilize technology such as QuickBooks is because it eliminates the use of spreadsheets. And I'm glad that no one was utilizing spreadsheets, because there are a lot of different things that can just stifle us or limit us in the spreadsheet. Okay. We got one more coming through in the chat. Okay. With the good support. Okay. Awesome. So no spreadsheets, because we don't want to limit ourselves. When we use technology, we expand the way that we can get more specialized results. We can get more specialized reporting. We can really drill down and we can really customize the business and the formatting of the software to really fit what we do. Okay. Cloud-based accounting just provides financial performance at your fingertips. So it houses everything. It supports everything in the cloud. You're not constantly worrying about if a spreadsheet is going to be accidentally deleted because it's stored in the cloud. It's constantly updated. You'll see this image here shows that one of the things we're going to get into it in just a second, the greatest benefit of working in a cloud-based accounting system is you can access it anytime, anywhere. So I'll go right here to the next slide. Cloud-based accounting systems help us to manage all of our bank and our credit accounts, all of the accounts that are associated with our business. We can do that with a cloud-based accounting system. We can manage our employees. We can manage our vendors. We can manage our customers, all inside of a cloud-based accounting system. We want to track sales and income, right? Because that's what we're in business for, right? We want to make money, but we want to know exactly what we're making. We don't want our source of finding out what we've sold or what we've made to just be the old days of calling the bank account. Call the bank up once a week. Hey, what's the balance? Logging in. Because as we know, I just was explaining to a new client just this past week and helping them to understand how transactions flow from the bank to the financials. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit, but understanding cash flow, understanding when you make customer payment, when you receive customer payments, or when you pay on debt, when you're tracking your expenses and sales tax, where's all that money going? So that's what we're able to do inside of an accounting system instead of using a spreadsheet. We're able to report on and review our business situation financially at any time. At any point in time, when we keep our records updated in our accounting system, it's simple. It's a click of a button, and we can access where we are at any point in time. We can also manage all the different service items that we provide to our customers or our clients, and we can manage inventory, okay? So some of us may be in manufacturing, but there's something for all of the business types that we just discussed here earlier. Now, this is why I recommend QuickBooks, and I'm glad to see that most of you are already using it because I believe that it's one of the best accounting software. It's been around for a very long time. It's been the #1 best-selling small business accounting software. In terms of small businesses and medium-sized businesses, it's just been ranked pretty much #1 for a very long time. Now, someone is using Xero. I saw that in the chat. Xero is really making a come forward when it comes in terms of competitors. QuickBooks has seen some competitors back in their earlier days, but now that they have really built a robust functionality around their cloud-based system, different competitors are coming into the market like Xero, like FreshBooks. There are a couple of different ones. You can go through the internet and you can find whichever one works best for your particular company. I have been using QuickBooks for the whole inception of my business. That's the only software that I support clients with as a QuickBooks accounting pro advisor. And I love it. I love the functionality of it. I love that it's easy to use. I love that it keeps my business owners all organized and I can keep all of their information in one place. We can customize it to fit your individual business. And if you have employees or if you have contractors, it's a one-stop shop. You can integrate payroll, your contractors. You can keep track of everything as it relates to your business in this one software program. Now that they have 2 different platforms, back in the old days, so for those of you that have been using QuickBooks for a long time, you know that you've always had an option to use the desktop version, which means that you actually get a disk or download link, and you download it to a central location, like a server in your office or a laptop or a PC, okay, or a Mac. When you download that software, generally, if you just get one user license, it's going to be on one PC. So say you're, at the grocery store, at the park with your kids, and you need to issue out an invoice to a client. They're sending you a message and they say, hey, I need to get that invoice from you. You have to tell them I have to wait till I get back to my office. And if your office is outside of your home, well, that further adds another layer of what you need to do to get not just home, but to your business office. Log on to that one computer, access that desktop program, and then send out that invoice, okay? The second option for QuickBooks users is to utilize QuickBooks Online. And I will tell you, when I started my practice, I've been practicing accounting for 25 years, but I went out and started Foster Financial Management about 13 and a half years ago. Started it while I was still working in corporate accounting and went full time on it 9 years ago. And when I first started my business, the online portion of QuickBooks was very limited. It really was, because a lot of softwares were that was just the emerge of apps. That was just the emerge of a lot of cloud-based systems for no matter what you were working on. If you were a nonprofit, your giving software was going to be on a desktop or on a server. There was not many options in terms of cloud-based software. But since QuickBooks went online and over the past several years, they've continued to improve that functionality, and it is robust. You have greater reporting than you did when they first started, and it is just as competitive. It used to be that the desktop version would far outweigh the online version, but now they are very competitive as far as what every business owner needs. Pretty much you can utilize every feature from QuickBooks Online. So you can access it from any time and anywhere, because guess where it is? In the cloud. So that's the benefit of it. Anywhere you are. And I'll give you an example. I had a client that needed some special reporting, and they sent me a message and they're like, hey, hate to bother you after hours, but really need a new report, for X, Y, and Z. And literally, I was in the middle of yelling at my son's basketball game. I am a boy mom. I am always at their sporting events, cheering them on from the sidelines. And so my oldest son was out there on the floor playing. And then my youngest son, because we were still at the school, I told him to grab his laptop, brought it over, connected to the Wi-Fi, and just logged into my QuickBooks account and issued them reporting right there from the basketball gym. Anytime, anywhere. And that was one of the things that I appreciated most, is just having that flexibility to serve my clients no matter where I am. And you'll be able to serve your customers and your clients anywhere that you are as well. Third-party software integration. There are a lot of applications that have developed over the years, that one of the key things that they try to make sure that is a part of their functionality is that it integrates with QuickBooks. So there are a lot of applications that you can connect to your QuickBooks account, and you can definitely function that, customize it to fit your needs there. All right. Now, once you get into QuickBooks and we get into the process of staying organized throughout the year, we're going to go through some of those highlights. And if you guys have been using QuickBooks, this is going to be a great refresher for you. Perhaps you haven't been utilizing it to its fullest extent. We're going to stay pretty high level, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that you can utilize this program to hit all of these different things to stay organized. And that makes tax preparation so much easier. When you're talking about the difference in price for preparation fees, you guys, going back to that image where I talked about having that big shoebox full of receipts, when we get done going through these little overviews and these highlights of QuickBooks, you're going to see the difference on what you think your price per hour is going to be when you give them that box of receipts versus if you give them organized financial statements. Okay. And so we're going to walk through a couple of slides to show us exactly how we can do that. All right. If you have a QuickBooks, we're just looking at a sample company here. If you have QuickBooks, okay, when you log on, this is one of the first dashboards that you're going to see. Okay. You're going to see a business overview, and it just gives you a highlight of your profit and loss for the last 30 days. And you can customize that. You may want to say, what's my profit and loss for the last quarter? You may want to leave it at that default of last 30 days. What are my expenses? What invoices have I sent out, but they're still unpaid, right? That is so important to us in terms of tax preparation, because guess what? We're taxed on our income. Okay. So we need to know, have we been paid? How quickly we've been paid? We're going to talk about the importance of looking at an AR receiving, an accounts receivable aging summary there, but we want to make sure that we keep a handle on those invoices. As we send them out, we want to make sure that we're getting that money back in a timely manner. You can see on the right-hand side there, it keeps us organized by letting us know Here are all of the connected accounts that are associated with our business. And that is how up to date we are. We need to go in and categorize some things over there, but it gives us this nice snapshot. We can even have graphs here. You'll see here for sales, and you can add different things here on this dashboard. But these are some of the most ones that we use most often. We can see that sales declined and kind of flatlined here. So those are some of the highlight overview things that help us as business professionals stay organized and on track. Okay. Now, as you know, if you guys are all utilizing QuickBooks Online, one of the greatest benefits versus the desktop version is the ability to be able to sync your financial transactions. Huge. That's huge, because that means you're not having to manually enter so many things. You are having to still review every single one of your transactions, but you're not having to manually enter in every single one. If you are utilizing QuickBooks checks to use, like the printed checks, anytime you enter a new check and those transactions come in from the bank, it's easy to match those transactions up. It just makes reconciling so much simpler when you can sync all of your bank accounts, your credit card accounts, your savings accounts, any account that's affiliated with your business that's related to those checking or savings or credit. Syncing those through helps you to stay organized and keeps you on track and keeps your records current. Okay, so that's a huge benefit, huge benefit. Another important benefit of using QuickBooks, if you've all used the invoicing piece of it, how many of you actually invoice QuickBooks? You may use a third party, you may not have to use QuickBooks, but if you do, this is a great way to keep track and keep everything in. Okay, great. Okay, Dorothy, I think it's Dorothy, is still on the iPhone. She raised her hand. Great, awesome. If you use invoicing through QuickBooks, it keeps everything in one place. You're not having to bridge anything over from a third party. You can set up your products and your services, assign price levels to them, and it helps you to be able to do that. A couple of things I'll just highlight here on the screen. You'll maintain your customers. You can add new customers every day, anytime that you accept a new customer here, okay? You can also, of course, keep up with their detailed information, like their address, their emails. You want to set terms up. What are your terms when you invoice your customers and your clients? How quickly do you require them to pay you? Now, you'll see here the terms say net 30, which of course we know that we expect for our payments to be received within 30 days. But maybe we want our payments to be in net 15, okay? Or if we're doing a lot of on-site work, we want our terms to be on receipt. The moment that we perform those services, we want to be receiving that payment right at that same time. So there are different terms, but you want to make sure that this invoicing piece is definitely customized to fit your business. So when you send these invoices out, your customer knows what to expect so that they know how to quickly pay you. So you have all of these different areas. I won't go through everything, but in QuickBooks, if you utilize the invoicing system and the system for sales receipts, you can customize these to make it be as professional to represent your brand. You can add your logo. You can add custom messaging. If you look here where my cursor is, I hope you guys can see my cursor, but you can add messages on your invoices. You can add messages on your statements. You can be as customized as you would like to be with the QuickBooks invoicing. You want to apply discounts. If you are providing products that you charge sales tax on, you can, of course, add the sales tax authority, what state you're in, and QuickBooks will automatically keep track of that sales tax for you. And at the end of every month, you can just simply go into QuickBooks, run a sales tax report, makes tax preparation so much easier. When you log on to your state system to file your state income tax, your state sales tax each month, you just pull a report. It's the click of a button when you've been using the invoice system here through QuickBooks. So it makes sales tax preparation seamless. That is definitely a way to help you to save time and energy and money on sales tax, okay? Maintaining your products and services. So all of us offer multiple types of services. So we saw so many different types of businesses, but just because we're in one industry doesn't mean that we're limited to just one type of product or service. I'm an accountant, of course, but I provide different types of services even within my business. I do training, right? I do QuickBooks training for clients, new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that have general managers or in-house bookkeepers that they've hired in and want them to learn how to use the software. I train them. I do individual and group training. Well, guess what? That's a different service item on my products and services list. I do outsourced bookkeeping services for my monthly retainer clients. Those are clients that have contracted with me for me to manage their books. They've grown to a level where they were ready to outsource that. They were like, hey, my time is more important right now. I'm now making enough to outsource this. And, and they're able to outsource to a bookkeeper. And so that bookkeeping service is a separate service. Okay. I do public speaking. I love going out and encouraging and motivating others. I have those speaking events as another type of service. So you get where I'm going. Even though you think of a boring accounting, even my practice has different levels of service. Okay. So for you yourself and in your business, you definitely want to segregate because it does a couple of things. It helps you to be able to see which segments of your business is growing. We're going to talk at the end about goal setting. So when we are setting goals and looking at our performance for our business year over year, this helps us to do that when we separate those lines. And, some of us may have just used the general sales category, but this here helps us to be able to split things out and to be a little more thorough and break it down so that we can use it for business growth and better business reporting. Okay. Also, if you have inventory, this is another place that you can be able to keep track of inventory. It'll tell you once you start entering in quantities, it'll tell you if you're low on stock, if you're out of stock on something, and you can track it through QuickBooks. Okay. All right. So speaking of expenses, you can keep track of the vendors that you pay for your expenses. When we categorize and sync in all of our credit card transactions and all of our banking transactions, this system helps us to be able to keep a listing of all the people that we work with throughout the year. Okay. So we're in tax time and we're looking at, wow, who did we pay this year? Oh, who did I use for legal fees? Or who did I use for that plumbing situation that I had at the office when we had that leak or when pipes burst during the big freeze? Wherever I use different vendors, now they're housed in one space. So there's another benefit of using a cloud-based accounting system to save us time and money, not only during tax season, but during the year. It keeps us organized and keeps everything at our fingertips. Right here, one click, we can be able to see all the people that we've worked with. There are different reports even that help us to run reports based on vendors even that we work with. So this keeps us organized. It's in alphabetical order. If we've invoiced or we've set up a bill to pay our vendors, we can see what bills we have open here, what balance we owe to them. So this keeps us very organized in that term as well. Right here at this dashboard row, this is my favorite part of the vendor and the customer center. I want to direct your attention right here to this little bar. Okay. This just is a great summary as entrepreneurs to tell us high level what's going on with our vendors. And we'll see the same thing when we go to the customer screen. But it tells us we have one open purchase order with a vendor. We see that we have 4 overdue bills, 5 open bills in the total of $1,603. We've paid in bills 21 bills in the last 30 days that totaled almost $4,000. That's great information to have because that helps us to see at a high level. If we just need to see a summary, how has cash been going out? Okay. And that is a great summary to be able to do so. Okay. Now, when we're classifying those expenses, this is what I call the skeleton of our business. When a second number one way to save time and money in terms of your taxes and to prevent so many questions from your tax preparer is to have your expenses properly classified. You want to make sure that things are properly categorized because it will make your life easier and it'll make your tax accountant's life easier. And the way that we do so is by utilizing our chart of accounts, which is our skeleton. This is the bones of our business. I just did a little screenshot just so you can see that. But if you've been using QuickBooks, I know someone else is using Xero, but you can see that chart of accounts where you add accounts based on your business activity. But some of our basic things that we're using rent, we're using supplies, we are using utilities, we are using salaries and wages, a huge one. That's usually our highest expense in terms of our business category, salaries and wages and taxes. You're paying employer taxes. If you're buying assets, you want to keep track of those assets, whether or not it's furniture and fixtures, whether or not you have purchased a building, purchased a vehicle. Your chart of accounts is where you will set up those accounts. And so when you present your organized financial statements and you have shown this listing of your chart of accounts and all of your expense and asset and liability categories, your accountant's going to be so happy to know that you've been utilizing this on a regular basis and making sure that you're doing this carefully. Okay. If you ever have a question about how to categorize something, you definitely want to seek the advice of a professional. If you ever run into any type of issues, you want to seek the advice of an accounting professional. But this is definitely the skull and bones of your operation, making sure that things are properly classified. That when I get feedback from tax accountants, that's one of the things that I hear the greatest headache, them having to clean up accounts. Because when they go into your account, that's another benefit. When you have a QuickBooks Online subscription, depending on the subscription level that you have, you can have, different levels of users, account users. So if you just have the smallest subscription level, it's usually one owner user account, and you can have up to 2 accountant users. Now, accountant users have a different functionality, and that's just you sending them an invite to say, I am giving you permission to look at my books. Okay. Now, when they go into your books, one of the first things that they're going to do is run a trial balance, and they're going to bust into these accounts. And if you haven't properly categorized, it's number one, going to hold up your tax preparation. It's going to cause, secondly, a lot of follow-up questions. And number 3, that in turn is going to cause a delay and higher fees for you. The more that they have to dig in and clean up and reclass and change where you categorize things, the higher your tax bill is going to be. So we want to save you some money here. So if you've been using QuickBooks already, and you definitely want to look at all of these categories, you see here on the right-hand side for any one of your tax categories, you can click View Register, and it will show you all of the activity that has been coded for that particular account. Okay, so that is a very helpful tip to make sure that you have your expenses categorized properly. All right. Now, we're in business to make money, guys. So we definitely want to track our sales and our customers. So I told you just a moment ago that your customer screen looks just like your vendor screen. Okay. So when you look here, we love this same dashboard, but it just changes a little bit. Okay. Now it's looking at people that owe us instead of people that we owe. We owe vendors, customers owe us. So now this dashboard tells us how many estimates have we issued out to potential customers. How many have we entered in as unbilled activity? This is where you start out drafting an invoice. So you may create an unbilled invoice where you're just keeping track. Like if you're doing things on a progress schedule, just say you're doing little pieces at a time, but you don't want to lose progress of the work that you're doing for a particular client. This is where you can keep track of that. And it'll remind you, hey, there's $750 that you still haven't billed for. Well, we need that money. We're like Jerry Maguire, show me the money, baby. So we want to keep track of how much we've not billed yet so that we can create invoices. You'll just simply click there. When you're ready to create an invoice, it'll just tell you, do you want to create an invoice? Yes. And you'll translate over to an invoice and you'll finish out all of the applicable lines so that you can send that out to your customer. How many are overdue? So this shows us that we have 10 invoices that are outstanding. So that means $1,500 of our money is still on the street. And we want our money in-house. So we want to improve our processes. This helps us to be able to dive in. Who do we need to follow on? One of the greatest features that I personally love in the sales center, and I want to see a show of hands here, who is utilizing if you're invoicing through here, who's ever used the remind feature? So if you have more invoices that are overdue here, and you click on that particular account, there's a drop down where it says send a reminder to that client or that customer that they still owe you money. Let me see a show of hands if you've ever used that feature. Okay, Saul's used that. Anyone else has used that reminder? Okay, great. Dorothy raised her hand. Thank you. That's great. Anyone else? So for all of you QuickBooks users, if you have never used that feature before, that is a great way. Because we're using technology, sometimes when you send those invoices out electronically, it gets caught up in their email. Maybe they opened it and they forgot to go back in it to write that check and put it in the mail. So when you use that feature, it says send a reminder invoice. That just sends them a gentle reminder. It says, hi, customer. Just a reminder that your bill, your invoice 123 is still unpaid. We would appreciate your prompt attention to this matter. You can create and customize that message to say whatever you'd like to say. Okay, but that's a great feature. So if you're not using it, I hope this is a tip that you can take away from today. All right, we have current invoices, meaning that they're not yet overdue, but that includes the overdue ones, but some additional ones that are not yet overdue total to $5,000 in this example. And then we see now that we've had 3,000 that have been paid to us. Okay, so this is a very, very powerful tool to use to keep up with your customers, your invoicing, and how much money you still have floating out there. Okay, awesome. All right, here's again another side of that sales center. When you click here, if you can see my cursor at the top row here, we were over here on the customers. That's where we're just looking at all the customer activity. Who do we have as customers? But right here is where we can look at all of those transactions broken down. This just tells us in detail what the invoice numbers we've sent out most recently. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see all of that activity over the past 300, you can change the filter here, but this is the past 365 days. So when you're looking at a tax year, and if you have someone that you're questioning about, you just scroll down. You can drill down directly to the customer if you know which customer, but if you want to scroll down and just look at different activity here, this is the place to do that. Hope you're utilizing that. Okay. Awesome. Now, another raise of hands. Okay. Raise your hand if you have employees or contractors. How many of you have, okay, Saul has, use your little, because I know some of you have on your black screen. So if you use your reaction button there, how many of you have employees or utilize contractors? Okay, Warnett, you do, you gave me a thumbs up. Okay, you have contractors. Okay, Edwina, awesome. Employee Sonia, okay, Edwina, yes. Okay, great. Okay, great. So a couple of you, Chica, okay, awesome. Linda, great. All right. So I hope that you were able to, with ease, utilize QuickBooks to maintain that. And it's totally fine if you have an outside payroll service. But if you wanted to keep everything all bundled up together, and be more engaged and more involved in that running that payroll, and if you're already having to enter hours in for your people, QuickBooks offers an integrated solution. You would get a reduced rate if you wanted to bundle up your QuickBooks subscription with the payroll subscription, because they are separate. You're not required to do payroll just because you have a QuickBooks accounting subscription, but they do give you the option to bundle it together, and they do reduce it by a small percentage if you have a bundle there. But I wanted to quickly go over how powerful this is in terms of tax time. If you're managing everything through QuickBooks, easy preparation of W-2s. easy preparation of your quarterly payroll taxes. Because I know this is the time of the year where our emphasis is all on federal income tax and business taxes, but there are so many other tax benefits to utilizing QuickBooks and getting the best out of your software. So the companies that I've worked with that utilize payroll with the QuickBooks subscription, they've just really been able to just dive in, and really it's seamless. It's very user-friendly, just like the software is. And you can keep track of everything. Right here, you'll see the listing of the employees. It's very easy to add a new employee. Oh, let me tell you this. One of the things that is just fantastic, if you have used QuickBooks Payroll in the past, or if you're currently using QuickBooks Payroll right now, as you add new employees, the old days of having to print out a packet, because QuickBooks is really great about giving you an employee packet, has your W-4 for your employee to fill out. And the W-4, of course, as we know, is to have your employee list how they want taxes to be withdrawn, whether they're exemptions, what is their vital information, like their social security number, their name, their address, their email, all of that important information. You can also activate the feature for direct deposit. That is key. A lot of people want to get paid direct deposit. Again, we're in a technological age right now. So a lot of people are not wanting to go to the bank and stand in line or stand in the drive-through as long. So you can use QuickBooks Payroll to activate your direct deposit as well. And a new feature, instead of having them fill out the paperwork manually, on paper, now through Workforce, all you need is their name and their email address. When you get that information, you can send them a link and say you're inviting them to utilize the QuickBooks Workforce or the Intuit Workforce, and it will tell them, hey, this is a new employee. Please fill out this information for my company. And they'll fill out their W-4, they'll fill out their direct deposit. All of that information now is gathered online for you. They complete it, they send it back. You get a notification as the administrator to tell you that new employee 123 just completed their onboarding new employee documentation. You guys, it makes it so easy now. So easy. So now when we're at the end of the year and we're needing to send out W-2s for those employees, it's at the click of a button. When we want to pay payroll taxes on a quarterly basis, and produce our 941s, you can do so electronically. You can file your monthly tax reports. When you're withholding your employee tax, you can withhold that, send it over on a monthly basis. So it makes it just really easy from a tax perspective if you have employees, okay? Now, perhaps you don't have employees. Let's see, we got some stuff here in the chat. Okay, Linda says, that I invoice through QuickBooks, but I make a PDF desktop and email them. Oh, Linda, you don't have to do that. You can create a PDF and email them right through QuickBooks online, okay? Anthony said it is a very great tool. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm on it for the sake of Linda, you guys, because I want this to be engaging and I want you guys to walk away with tangible benefits. And especially with so many of you using it, that's my goal, is to make you leave today feeling more empowered, that you can take this tool to the next level for your business, okay? Not just for taxes, but for all year long. So I'm going to back up just a little bit for Linda. All right. Hey, Linda, I want to, and everyone else, but right here, this is when you start to enter your customer's information, you'll type in here the customer's name, it'll populate a box. When you populate that box, you want to click add details for every single customer that you add. When you open and expand that customer box, you can put in their address, their email, their whatever, any type of detailed information that you have. If you have special billing things, you can make notes on any customer, okay? Whatever you want, just all of that information, you want to put it in there. Who's the contact person? What's their phone number if you ever need to reach out to them? So all of their contact information is listed there. But the important part is if you get that email, when you now populate it here, the customer email is going to populate here in this box right here, and the billing address is going to populate here. Now, this is critical for two different ways. The email is great because you can email the invoice electronically, and the billing address, of course. So if you wanted to print this out as a PDF and stick it in your company-facing envelopes and put it in the mail, you can do so. You can do whatever you would like to do. So when this populates here, okay, and then of course we know all of your terms and everything. So Linda, I want you to take a look at the bottom of my screen right here. You'll see three categories here, three buttons here. One, it says print or preview, okay? When you click print or preview, you can do two things. You can just look at it to make sure it's giving the, all the formatting that you've created for your business with the customizations and the notations and the different messages on your invoice. But you can also save it as a PDF, because it's going to open up as a PDF and you can save it down to your computer. Secondly, you don't have to do that if you decide to send it electronically, because the moment that you come over here, if you look on the right corner of your screen, the right bottom corner of your screen here, you'll see save and send. Does everyone see my cursor here? When you do that, you guys, it's going to open up another window with messaging that you've customized or left generic, which is fine. And when it sends electronically, guess what, Linda? It's automatically going to attach your PDF to the invoice. Win-win. Okay, win-win. So that's something that you don't have to keep separate. You don't have to send in a separate email system. Okay, how many of you knew that? And maybe we're doing double duty like Linda. And now this will be a time saver for you. Raise your hands if that now will be an additional time saver for you. Do your reaction at the bottom there. Is that something that maybe someone else like Linda was? Okay, Edwina. Okay, great. Awesome. Anyone else? I hope that was helpful. Maybe most of you have already been doing that. But no, that is great. Okay, Edwina, I was already using this tool. Fantastic. Okay, great. Linda, give me in the chat and let me know if that's helpful for you. And we'll go back to where we were. But I wanted to back up just since that was a real-time question for you to be able to see how you can utilize this. Does this work the same way with the desktop version? I'm about to get the online feature. Okay, so are you saying that you're currently using the desktop version of QuickBooks? And I'm sorry if I misunderstood that. Very helpful. Okay, thank you, Linda. I want to make sure that you can utilize this system for the best of its capabilities, because we want to, if we're paying and investing, because, when you subscribe to anything, whether it's marketing, whether it's operations, whether it's accounting, these are tools that you're investing in your business, okay? So we want to make sure that we get all of the functionality out of it. So great. So once you get the online feature, this is what we're only talking about, the online feature, okay? So if I misunderstood that you had the desktop version, but when you have the online, it's so much easier to send things through email. You can do it with desktop, but it's a little bit extra, a few extra steps. But with this, it's seamless. And let me show you one last thing here before we get off of this. Once you send that invoice, now there's nothing here right now, but once it's sent, you can go into any invoice that you've distributed, you guys. And if your customer ever says, hey, I didn't receive that, QuickBooks tells you that they received it, that they viewed it, and they've opened it, and when they opened it, okay? So no customer can no longer say that they did not receive an invoice from you. That's the benefit that's not available in desktop, but it is available in QuickBooks Online, okay? So if you haven't gone back into an invoice before to see in this little blank area here, it will populate and tell you that the customer has opened it, that they viewed it, and how many times that they viewed it as well, okay? Awesome. Okay, so now we were over here talking about the employees, okay? Now, we talked about the importance of, how easy it is to set them up, how easy it is to pay them. You set up your pay cycles, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, however you want to do that. You do that all through the integrated payroll feature. But maybe you just have contractors. These are people that are not working for you on an ongoing basis. You just maybe work with them from time to time. They have their own business, and you use them to subcontract some work to help you out. Now, this is where we can keep track of them. In that same payroll feature there, in the navigation bar over here, you click out here on payroll, you come out here, we were under the employee tab, but if you go under the contractor tab, okay, you'll be able to keep track, add contractor, and at the end of the year, you'll be able to take the information that you get from them. You still want to get your contractors to complete a W-9, okay? If you ever contract out with an outside vendor that is a sole proprietor or just an independent contractor, you want to make sure that you obtain a W-9 from them the moment you decide to work with them, okay? I can't say this enough. I know you're on mute, but I want everyone to say it aloud wherever you are. Get my contractors to complete a W-9. Now, I'm going to look at the ones that are on camera, okay? Say, get my contractors to complete a W-9. Saul saying it. Okay, Armina, let me see your mouth move. Get my contractors to complete a W-9. Taylor just did a thumbs up because he sees this all the time in his office. All the time is he having to teach his small businesses that he's providing consulting and training with the importance of keeping track with these contractors. Because at the end of the year, it is a mad race trying to track these W-9s down and issue 1099s. So for those of you that are unaware or that may be new in business, if you pay an independent contractor $600 or more during the calendar year, you need to issue them the IRS approved 1099. You can do that right here through QuickBooks to save yourself time, meet the deadlines. And if you do it in a timely fashion, they have different deadlines here within QuickBooks, but QuickBooks will not only allow you to prepare it, but they'll also file it electronically for you with the IRS. They will actually mail it for you, and it's an additional fee, but it takes all of the stress off of you. All you need to do is run it, make sure that you have everything properly categorized, particularly when we're looking at 1099 non-employee compensation. You want to make sure that you tell QuickBooks which categories to pull those contractor totals from. Some different steps, but it makes it so much easier. It makes it so much easier. We got some feedback in the chat. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, great. Yes, we are wrapping up. We got about 10 minutes left, and then we're open up for some questions. Thank you, Taylor. You know I get excited about this stuff. All right. Another way that we, of course, always need to track taxes is to be able to keep up with our mileage. We all know that tracking our mileage is a great way to get a deduction. So QuickBooks, you can do that. You can download the app. You can turn on your navigation so that every time you get in the car, it will track your distance. And then you can categorize it as business or personal. And at the end of the year, you're simply running a report, and it gives you a detailed mileage report that summarized like this: the date, the time, the location, how far you went, and it'll calculate total miles and multiply it times that rate right now, and keep track of the different vehicles that you're in. So that's a definite way to keep track of that, okay? For taxes, because you want to turn that in to get that maximum deduction on mileage if you have to do any kind of traveling for your business. All right, so lastly, we're going to wrap up with the importance of financial reporting. If you have not, we're just going to quickly go over these few reports. The balance sheet and the profit and loss statement are the two most used and most common financial statements that I encourage you. If you are not looking at your financial statements every single month, I encourage you to do so. Okay. Now, I want everyone in the reactions to now put a smiley face for me. A smiley face if you are already utilizing financial statements on a monthly basis. So go into your reactions, and I want everyone to give me a smiley face if you're not. Now, I want a sad face if I want a sad face if you're not. I want a smiley face if you are. So let's go ahead and take a quick moment to go into our reactions. Okay, Linda's got me. Let's see here. Does Linda have me a smiley face here? Okay. Anthony, that's okay. That's okay. We're going to work on it. We're going to work on it. Okay. Thank you for those that participated in that. Thank you so much. Ermina, she's got crying. Oh, Ermina. Okay. We're going to work on that. And that's the reason why I added this slide, because so many of us, we're utilizing QuickBooks, but this is, again, one of those situations where we're not getting the full functionality of it. And you guys, this is one of the most important parts. If we're staying organized, if we're syncing up all of our financial transactions, if we have everything properly categorized, all of our expenses, all of our sales and income, then we have complete and accurate books to produce accurate financial reporting at the end of every month. Okay. So your balance sheet keeps, in summary, all of your business's assets and liabilities and equity accounts. Okay. What your business owes other vendors, whether it be credit, maybe it be a line of credit or loans, whatever that is, your receivables, what people owe you, that's an asset. Your checking and your bank accounts, those are cash assets, liquid assets that you can access. And those in any type of investment in your business. If you're investing in your business, you're keeping track of money that you're withdrawing from the business and money that you're adding into the business. Okay. So that's important to run. If you are issuing those invoices and you want to keep track every month of how many invoices are still outstanding, you want to be running an aging summary every month. We want to see what current invoices are out there, how many have been out there 1 to 30 days, how many have been out there hanging for 30 to 61 days, how many 61 to 90, and any that are 91 and above. Okay. This helps us. If we're running this every month, we know who to follow up on. And what did I teach you earlier? We can send reminders to these clients in case they come up on this report. Okay. Lastly, profit and loss. Okay. So when we're looking at income that we've received in, and income that we expenses that we're paying out, it's all summarized here in our profit and loss statement. This is where we have different categories. I talked to you about breaking down the different service items that we offer. So like, for instance, this is a landscaping business that we're using as an example here. So they broke down, their different types of services, based on the kind of things that they do, whether they're planting or whether they're installing drip systems or lighting and landscaping services and all of that kind of stuff. So this is a way that you can break down and look at that information every single month. Okay. Awesome. Now, I want to follow up from the importance of running financial statements and couple it up with the pandemic. Okay. We got about 10 minutes left to go through the slides, guys, and I'm going to jump back in the chat. You give me just a moment because I really want just to think, and, we're going to do a quick chat again about this. We're talking about Saul. So Saul's in sanitation. So he's been extremely busy. When we think about, what's that? Did I have the wrong company? Put in the chat. I know you're on mute. Let's see here. I'm going to ask you to come off of mute since I can't hear you. Hold on 1 second. Now, it should allow you to unmute now. There we go. Oh, we still can't hear you, Saul. It may be the way that you're connected, but if you can communicate with us over here in the chat, that's fine. But that's just one example. I know we had a business that was in sanitation. So, we've learned a lot through the pandemic and how it's affected. This is one of the things that if you look at no matter what industry you are a part of, this global pandemic has affected all of us. There are no exceptions. There are no deviations. We have all been impacted by this pandemic. Every single, whether you're in childcare, whether you're in education, whether you're in financial, no matter what industry you're serving, we've been impacted by the pandemic. We've learned some valuable lessons. And one of the most valuable things that I've heard consistently in teaching classes and getting people to sign up for classes is that they said, the pandemic caught me off guard. The pandemic caught me not adequately feeling organized, not keeping up with my records, and not having financial statements that would have helped me to gain assistance during the outbreak of the pandemic when payroll protection loans were being offered and all different types of financing or different grants that people, but small business owners could have applied for. So that's why I followed up with the importance of those financial statements, with us taking that look. Now, this is something that I just want you to do when we hang up from the webinar today, but I want you to just, if you have not yet, I want you to spend a little bit of time when you're doing your administrative time as a business owner to think about what are some of the lessons that we've learned as a business owner through the pandemic. List them out, because every one of our businesses are different. And then secondly, I want you to think about what challenges did your business face, and then thirdly, and lastly, what are some of the opportunities that became available because of the pandemic? Did your business, we're all here together, so that means you didn't go under. Thank you, God, for that. But if there are some different opportunities that have come a part of it, then that's a benefit maybe that you were able to capitalize on. You've heard the word pivot used so much in terms of how we adjusted our businesses, how we adjusted our services in order to navigate. I work, and on the side, one of my creative outlets, I love vintage and antique shops and have a little booth at one nearby. And when stores were closed and they couldn't allow customers to come in because of COVID, one of the things that I prided and just celebrated our store owner in doing is that she jumped online and utilized the Facebook Live feature to sell and highlight items in the store to do online sales. So that was a way that she, as a business owner, had to pivot. You had to pivot. I deliver training, and I've always done it in person. But during the pandemic, I started utilizing Zoom, and now I can connect with entrepreneurs just like you guys and still connected, still get engaged, but I've had to do it all virtually to stay safe and to keep clients and customers safe. So what are opportunities that you've had? So that's homework number one. I want you to definitely do that when we disconnect today, to really have some time of reflection, because we're in the middle of it still, but it's a good way to just look at business growth and business opportunities just as an administrative process. All right. So this is going to be provided for you, but I just wanted to show this to you in terms of next steps, in terms of tax preparation. Always seek out the help of an experienced tax professional. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do bookkeeping for my monthly retainer clients. I do not do taxes. I make tax preparation easy for my clients, though, because guess what? They have an organized set of books at the end of the year that they're just simply turning over to their tax accountant. It saves them fees because the tax accountant is not having to look at a shoebox full of receipts. So you will then in turn take this list of things, and it may vary depending on what your industry is. Just some high level things. You always need to have your federal tax ID number. If you are a business owner, it is free to go on the irs.gov. If you don't already have an EIN number, you need one even, and that's an EIN is an employee identification. Employer identification number. And even if you don't have employees, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have employees, but I still have a federal employer identification number. It identifies me as my business, and I can use that instead of my social security number. Now, if you're getting your taxes prepared, you still, of course, have to provide them your social security number. And if you have your previous 3 years of tax returns, you want to provide that to them as well. All of these different things, you're going to get this. I'm going to send it as a PDF because I'm going to send a couple of things to Taylor, and he's going to send that to everyone that's attended today. But any of your accounting journals and your financial statements, again, this is important. You see, balance sheet and income statement. If you've kept up with your books all year, you just simply will be able to produce that to them, and any supporting documents. If you purchased a vehicle for your company, they may need those specific documents because that goes to it's a higher level asset. If you have large expenses, you want to provide them those supporting receipts for those things. But also outside of QuickBooks, another way to save money on your taxes and your time and to keep less stress is to have a filing system. Stay organized with a filing system. I would encourage you to keep it simple, but even if it's keeping a digital folder for every receipt to be saved at, utilizing QuickBooks receipts feature by taking a picture of it and uploading it to your QuickBooks file. Maybe if you're keeping all the papers, just keep it and organize it by month. So you can just take that binder to the tax accountant if they ever need to see an actual receipt for something. And then again, that's why I go into the receipts. If they're grouped into, on your financial statement, supplies and everything, supplies, rent, utilities, if they see it in QuickBooks, they can just simply go into the month that you've categorized it into your filing system and pull out anything that they want to verify. Okay. Tax documentation, any of your employees or subcontractors documentation, you want to keep all of that on file. Payroll reports. And again, if you utilize a home office, you want to keep these particular things on hand so that that home office deduction can be calculated for you. Okay. Awesome. There are different types of business taxes, so we want to understand what the types of business taxes are. And income tax, of course, we're paying, on the profit that the company is making. That will vary depending on the type of business that you are, understanding the type of business structure that's important, whether you're a sole proprietor or a partnership or an LLC or, S Corp or C Corp. Working with that tax professional will help you to be able to determine how you're taxed and at what level you're being taxed at. If you are particularly a business owner that's been in business, especially if you're, not just starting out and you're now starting to make a good amount of income, you want to get with that tax professional to set up quarterly tax payments because that may be required. If you've met a certain threshold, IRS suggests that you not wait until the end of the year to pay one large tax bill. Okay, but you go ahead and make those tax payments on a quarterly basis. We've already talked about employment taxes, making sure that those employment taxes are paid on a monthly basis through QuickBooks if you utilize payroll. If you use a contracted payroll service, they'll do that for you, so you're good there. Certain industries have to pay excise tax. You can go to the IRS.gov and see if your industry is one of those categories that has to pay franchise and excise tax, but those tax reports are due. Sales tax are due monthly through your state. Again, I already talked about that on how easy that's able to provide that report and go to your state agency and complete that on a monthly basis. And then self-employment tax are calculated based on that income for the business, okay, for all those earnings. Here's some deadlines. Again, you don't have to memorize this. I'm going to send this deck to Taylor. He's going to send this out to you. I think it's important that we all know this. And when you're working with a tax professional, they'll keep you in line with making sure that you meet these deadlines. Just want to remind you, it is your responsibility. Everyone hold your fingers up in the air. Little quick exercise. Now I want you to point them at yourself. It is my responsibility as a business owner to make sure my tax deadlines are met. So we're taking those two fingers and we're pointing them right back at ourselves. It's our responsibility, okay? Not even you have to follow up with your tax professional and make sure they have what they need to complete your W-2s or your 1099s or your estimated tax payments or your K-1s or financials or whatever, okay? So you definitely want to keep abreast for that, okay? Now, lastly, another homework thing that I want you guys to do is that now that you have realized the importance of staying organized and how it's not just important for tax time, but all throughout the year in order for us to be successful and us to grow as entrepreneurs, I want you to take this screen. You can screenshot it right now, but you'll have the deck. But I encourage you to ask yourself, where do I see my business 6 months from now? A year from now, and 5 years from now? And we saw when we first got started, we got a lot of longevity in here, but we have a lot of us that maybe, some that were in business for less than 5 years. So we all need to be thinking forward as entrepreneurs. At all times, we need to be thinking forward, okay? And when we break that down, we want to ask ourselves, now that I've looked at where I want to be, what am I doing daily, weekly, and monthly to get there? And what type of goals do I need to put in place in order to get me there? So you want to take those goals to take action, write them down, break them down so that you can accomplish whatever the vision is for your business. This is so important. You want to make sure you're very specific when you think about goals for your business. You want to make them measurable. Okay. If you want to grow 25%, you want to indicate, I want to grow, or this segment of my business. So if I'm Craig, the landscaper, I want my irrigation system services to grow by 25%. I want to be specific and I want to be measurable, and I want to make sure that I make it attainable. Is it attainable for me to grow 25% in a full 12-month season, right? And if I'm a landscaper, I also have to keep in mind of what? My business is seasonal. So what are some kind of things that I can do when I'm not cutting grass in the active summer months or in the heat months? What can I be doing? What kind of hardscaping can I be doing? What type of things that I can be doing with homeowners that'll help them prepare for spring? Maybe I do lawn spraying for weed maintenance, those types of things. So when you're breaking down your goals, make sure that you're very specific and make sure that you also set a limit. When do you want to accomplish them? If there's nothing else that we've learned from the pandemic, you guys, it's the importance of holding ourselves accountable so that we never feel ill-prepared and not in a position to still stay afloat in the midst of, God forbid, we ever face something like this. But I mean, look, right now we're in the middle, we're experiencing and viewing a war right around, in our world. So we just never know when our country or our health, we're going to a health crisis like we are right now. So we want to make sure that we're very specific so that we can activate and we stay forward moving. Okay. Now, training. How many of you have learned something new about QuickBooks? If you were using QuickBooks before today, and now that we've gone through this, raise your hand. Let me see the reaction button. Raise your hand or thumbs up if you've learned something today through QuickBooks that you may not have been using before. So let me see. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Yay. Lots of thumbs up. Hands up. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that this was helpful for you. And hopefully you can utilize these tools to help you to be even more prepared for next tax season. This is what I do. You want to make sure that you get the proper training on whatever software that you work with. And when you do it, you make sure that even if you're going to be new to QuickBooks, when you get your subscription, make sure it's implemented, properly. Get help of a professional to take a look at it and say, hey, did I set this up right? Can you give some training to me? I do that for entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs, all the time. And I love when they come to me as new entrepreneurs, because that shows that right out of the gate, that their priorities are starting things off right. So that's how I support small business owners. In fact, I do these ongoing training workshops where we do a deeper dive into QuickBooks. And because Taylor's so great to give you guys an opportunity to just kind of come in today for a free overview on how you can get the best out of QuickBooks for those. And if you know other business owners, perhaps this doesn't apply to you. If you've already been familiar with the deep dive, you can send this when Taylor sends, I'm going to include the link for the Eventbrite in the materials that I sent to Taylor later today. And you can send that to a fellow entrepreneur, and although they may not have been in this program, if you are saying that, hey, I am good with this, but I'll let you use my code. I'm going to, because you've attended the webinar today, offer a $50 off of the normal registration for the QuickBooks training class, where we do a deep dive. We spend 3 hours together and we, learn the importance of setting up properly, how to get into syncing those transactions, how to set up a bank account and credit account, how to categorize them, how to set up our chart of accounts, how to dig into those customer and vendor centers even more. We're going to dig into how to use that reporting at the end of the month, how to do a bank reconciliation, all those functional things we'll dig into. And, over that 3-hour period, so that you walk away with a good overview on how you can utilize the software better. So just keep your eyes open for that email that'll come from Taylor. If you've attended today, when you go to the Eventbrite, there will be a special place that I've activated for City of Memphis, the code City of MEM, so that you can get 50% off. That code does expire on Sunday night at midnight. So I encourage you, if you're interested in that, sign up very quickly. All right. So we want to utilize the last 10 minutes for question and answer, but I wanted to offer a word of encouragement. Tax time is where I see, and many accountants see, Taylor's in the office every day helping small business owners. And they are coming in discouraged and feeling like, hey, I'm so unorganized. I don't know where to start with taxes. I'm a mess. It's going to be late, But the first step toward getting somewhere is to decide that you're not going to stay where you are, right? It's always okay to reset, refocus, and restart. I want to leave that piece of encouragement with you, because if that's you today, don't worry. The fact that you're here, the fact that you signed up today, that's important. That's so important. You've already taken the first step. So I am grateful that you guys have joined us today. I am going to come off of the last slide is just simply ways to connect with me. You'll see my website and email address, but that will be in the packet there that you'll get from Taylor in just a little bit later on today. So we have about 8 minutes left before we disconnect, and definitely want to answer any questions. Let me go back to the chat and see if we missed anything here.
Also, if you have any questions, you can simply just raise your hand. In the reaction, we'll raise our hand and then we'll get you unmuted, and you can talk to Adrienne. So we have just a few more minutes left. You can talk to her, and if you have any other additional questions, we can do that right now.
Yes. Okay, Armenia says, I'm in Toronto and a newbie for this. US versus Canada. Is it all the same software? So that's an excellent question. Yes, QuickBooks is global. There are some differences, in any type of foreign country in terms of activating currency rates, different things, no matter what country it's in. And there are some things that, in fact, pre-pandemic, I used to always look forward to going to the QuickBooks conference we had every year. And it would be 5,000 accountants that would just, embark upon San Jose, California every year to just, stay abreast of all the different changes that are going on in QuickBooks. And they had a separate one just for Canada, for those professionals that were servicing our Canadian clients. So definitely want to look at, and you can always call the sales center as well to see how you can get set up more effectively for a Canadian businesses. Because again, when you're talking about taxes, totally different. Sales, things are just different in the different foreign countries. So you definitely want to reach out. Okay. But the software is definitely available in Canada. Okay, that's a great question.
One quick little question to that's a thread to this, and that is, although I am in Toronto, a lot of what I do is connected with the U.S. I buy most of my supplies from there because I make malas. It's all holistic stuff, but they're all related, right? So the e-commerce one with the malas is all U.S. It's all only in US dollars. But being in Canada, and now there's so much unknown, a little bit of unknown here, as there is, everywhere. But if there's some, if you can point me in a direction that I should take, if there is one specifically, that would be really great. I don't know if there's anyone else here that's from Canada, but we kind of work together.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and I will tell you this, and in order to get you the correct answer, this is the reason why working with a tax professional that's specifically in Canada, because again, when you're talking about border transactions, those are tax related things that you definitely want to seek out. And I wouldn't dare want to give you the wrong advice. So whoever you've worked with in the past for your taxes, or if you decided this year you were going to connect with a new tax professional, they will work with, because that's the thing about e-commerce. If you're a wholesale distributor, you may be getting some of your products from China or Korea, so you definitely want to seek that tax professional advice on how to, the trade and all of the e-commerce, so that you make sure that you get the taxation piece right. Excellent question. Thank you. I think everyone else is from the US though, I think, right? I think so. Okay, Linda, your hand is up. Do you have a question?
Sure. So I had been teetering, and I'm about 75% convinced now that I will go onto online desktop. And I've spoken with QuickBooks, and they have a program where they will help me to do it. But I also spoke with the new accountant that I'm looking at this year, and they have the bookkeeping and so forth. Well, QuickBooks said to me, you need to set it up yourself with us rather than letting an accountant set it up for you. And I think you kind of alluded to that in terms of giving an accountant permission to get into it, because they were saying I would at least on it. So that's kind of, I think you kind of see where I'm going. Do you advise just kind of setting up something with QuickBooks to let them help me at least get caught up? Because I'm gonna have to pay on the front end to get organized.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's a first step on getting on the right path. Excellent question. So you can do, if you have a person, an accountant that you're talking to, if they are an experienced QuickBooks user, they can definitely help you set up. You can still have administrative rights over your QuickBooks subscription, but you can also give them access, and they can help walk you through making sure that, and part of that setup process includes, not only, your name, your employee FEIN number, the business structure, because that helps to formulate your chart of accounts as well. Making sure that they include the right tax forms that you're going to use, making sure that they turn on certain features for you. So if your business utilizes sales tax, you want that feature to be turned on. If your business utilizes purchase orders, if you're in manufacturing or whatever, and you want that to be, because there are certain features that in the setting up process, they have to be activated in order for you to use them further on in the software. Okay. So if you're working directly with QuickBooks, they absolutely can connect you with someone. But if you have an accountant there as well, go through the process and ask them and say, hey, can you go through? Because they absolutely can. They can help you to set. I do it for clients all the time. So when I take on a new client, I make sure that that setup is done properly. I go in to make changes, upload that stuff. I, add customization to their invoicing, add their logo, messaging, whatever. So they'll be able to help you do it. So either way, you have options.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sonia, I thought I saw your hand up. Do you have a question?
Hey, good afternoon. No, I was just agreeing with what you said about the admin access.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's see here. Anthony said, I want to make sure we got the last one before we disconnect. Thank you guys for being engaging today. I know that we can't physically see each other, and that's one thing that I definitely miss about in-person training. But I hope that you felt that this was pretty engaging with us, at least talking to each other in the chat, using those emojis down there. And that's what we do in the class, the virtual training that we do. We use whiteboard, we, do a lot more engagement, and we actually do turn on our cameras so that we can encourage each other and high five each other, virtually, so we can have a good time together. Although we can't be together in person, we can still stay safe and do it virtually. Anthony says, well, there happened to be a category to keep a track of business purchase receipts. So if I understand you correctly, you're asking on how, Anthony, if you want to come off mute, so that I make sure I have clarity. And this will be our final question here. In categorizing business purchase receipts, those receipts could be for different facets of your business. So like, as an example, I want to make sure I understand you clearly. So as an example, if I order supplies from Amazon, Amazon would be my vendor. The expense category would be operating supplies or office supplies. Okay. If I'm here in Memphis and the vendor, I have a bill and a receipt from MLGW, then I know that I'm going to categorize that to my utilities category. My landlord will be set up as a vendor. My apologies. Let me mute this phone here. And if I have rent, my landlord will be set up as a vendor, and I would utilize rent expense as my category. So does that make sense, Anthony? How you separate? It depends on what the expense is, and that will determine what category it will go underneath. Give me a thumbs up if that's helpful. Oh, is that good, Anthony?
Stepping in for, sorry. Yeah, we're trying to keep track of all our purchases, like gas purchases, supply purchases, stated. It looks like we only have the payroll part, so it's another. I heard you earlier mention that it was two types of the QuickBooks for payroll, then it's another one where they do the invoicing.
Yes. So the payroll is an add-on feature.
Okay. So we only have that one, so we need to figure out how to get the other one for invoicing. Is that what the invoicing is and everything?
Yeah. And even if you don't send out, invoicing, electronically or whatever, you can still keep track of all your sales and, transactions of income and categorize them, as you receive those in. You can issue sales receipts if you're not issuing out invoices through QuickBooks. I wanted to highlight that feature if anyone is still maybe doing paper invoicing, because you'd be surprised. A lot of people are still doing paper invoicing. So I wanted to are you?
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. And that's the reason why I wanted to highlight that, because sometimes, although people may be using QuickBooks, I see so often people don't know all the functionality that they could be going and getting out of their monthly subscription. Okay, so I hope that was helpful advice for you to see, hey, I can get more bang for my buck here. Awesome. All right. And
well, again, we want to thank Adrienne for joining us. Adrienne, that was great information. Thank you so much. I think that was very timely information for us. Just a couple of things before we let you go. The replay of this webinar will be available on our Facebook page, which is OBDC Memphis, and the YouTube channel as well, OBDC Memphis as well. You can find the replay there. If you haven't registered for this event, registration is, again, it's open on Eventbrite till about 2:00. To make sure that those email addresses that you put in will send you the information that Adrienne has got for you. Make sure you're registered for that to get the email. And again, we want to thank you for joining us and hope this information has been useful. If you need some additional assistance, come by and see us here at OBDC. We're at 480 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, downtown Memphis, open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. We're here to help. So again,
fabulous facility too. If you guys have not utilized that office down there, they have a beautiful small business hub. They have a computer lab. It's just a fantastic resource. So do not ever go through your entrepreneurship alone when you have resources like Taylor's office to walk you through and navigate hand in hand. So thank you again for providing these types of programs, Taylor, because this is vital for all of us small businesses to feel like a community and know that we're not in here alone. So thank you again for the opportunity.
The journey doesn't have to be a solo one. We're here to
It sure help. Does not.
If we can't help you, we've got other organizations and resources that can. So let us know and engage us, and we'll be happy to assist you however we can. So we'll see you. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for everything. Bye-bye.